In the royal court of ancient India, a moment unfolded that the Buddha would never forget. It was a day like any other, courtiers and ministers moving about, conversations drifting through the air. But then, 4 visitors approached the king, each carrying something far more dangerous than any weapon. Each wore a different mask of friendship. The first visitor arrived with lavish gifts and syrupy words. His charm was undeniable, but beneath that smile, something was hidden. The second spoke of grand visions and mighty deeds, but if you looked closer, you'd see that his hands had never touched real work. The third bowed deeply, an old childhood friend of the court. His smile was warm, but behind it, a dagger meant for backs. And the fourth came with gentle words and kind excuses, leading others down sweet-scented paths that in truth ended in ruin. From the shadows, the Buddha watched, and he saw through them all. And that day, he shared a warning that would echo through time, a lesson about 4 types of people who can quietly, subtly destroy your life. Let's set the stage. This was 2,500 years ago, in the royal court of Kosala, a time when India was undergoing massive social and philosophical change. Cities were growing fast, creating new forms of relationships that stretched beyond the old family and tribal bonds. Merchants were rising, reshaping society, challenging the rigid social structures that had been in place for centuries. In this rapidly shifting world, people needed guidance more than ever. And that's when the Buddha did something extraordinary. Observing the subtle power plays of the royal court and the new merchant class, he developed what could be called the first ever psychological profile of toxic relationships. Long before modern psychology, the Buddha had already seen the patterns, behaviors that eroded trust, drained energy, and held people back. These weren't vague warnings. They were clear, precise descriptions of people we still encounter today, in the office, on social media, even sometimes among our closest friends. He called them the 4 hindrances of fellowship, relationships that appear supportive on the surface but actually prevent us from growing. What makes this so powerful is that the Buddha didn't just name these toxic types. He explained exactly how they operate, why they're dangerous, and how we can protect ourselves. And once you know these patterns, you'll start seeing them everywhere. So let's begin. The first type, Mitta Patirupaka, the one who wears the mask of friendship. Picture the busy streets of Rajagaha, vendors shouting, merchants haggling. But among them walks someone different. A person who trades not in goods, but in promises and praise. In the Sagalawada Sutta, the Buddha teaches us how to spot this false friend. And he gives us this simple truth to remember. Sweet words may fill the ears, but empty hands tell the truth. The Mitta Patirupaka gives little and takes much. They do things only out of fear or self-interest, not genuine care. Their words are beautiful, but their actions reveal their true intentions. Let me tell you a story, a real one from the Buddha's time. There was once a merchant in Rajagaha named Ananda, not the Buddha's disciple, but a wealthy trader. His warehouse overflowed with fine silks, spices, gems. But what he valued even more was his reputation as a generous, trusting man. One day, a charming stranger appeared. This man spoke of massive trade opportunities, promises of doubling Ananda's wealth. His words sparkled. He flattered Ananda's wisdom and generosity and seemed to know exactly when to bow, when to laugh. Other merchants quietly warned Ananda, something feels off. But the stranger was clever. He even donated to local monasteries, but only when others were watching. The Buddha, staying at the Bamboo Grove Monastery nearby, noticed this man's behavior. He pointed out 4 signs of a false friend. First, this person only gives when they expect more in return. Their gifts are bait, nothing more. Second, Their words are far sweeter than their actions. They talk endlessly of future riches, but fail to deliver. Third, they flatter constantly, especially in public. But when true help is needed, they disappear. And fourth, and perhaps most dangerous, they isolate you from your real friends, whispering, "They don't understand us. They're jealous." The story reaches its climax when the stranger proposes a massive business venture, urging Ananda to risk nearly all his wealth. But by then, Ananda had begun to see the pattern the Buddha described. He noticed the generosity had dried up. The promises remained just words. And thanks to the Buddha's teaching, Ananda saved not only his fortune, but his trust in true friendship. Now fast forward 2,500 years. These sweet talkers are still everywhere. On social media, in workplaces, even in our own circles. They might be an influencer promising easy money, or a coworker who suddenly acts like your best friend before asking for a favor. But here's the truly profound part. The Buddha knew that many of these people aren't intentionally deceitful. They sometimes fool even themselves. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha explains our minds naturally seek pleasure and avoid pain. And some people learn to manipulate this in others, offering sweet words and empty promises as a kind of shortcut to connection. But the real danger isn't the loss of money or time, it's the erosion of trust. Each encounter with a false friend leaves a scar. We become less able to open ourselves to real relationships. That's why the Buddha didn't teach this to make us suspicious of everyone, but to sharpen our discernment. He taught that true friendship grows stronger over time. Real friends act the same whether anyone is watching or not. Now, while the sweet talker uses charm and deception, our next type operates in a subtler way, through grand words and hollow promises. The Buddha called this type Vachaya Parama, the empty promiser. And unlike the previous type, you might be dealing with one of these right now without even realizing it.
Let's talk about the second type, Vachaya Parama, the empty promiser. The danger here doesn't lie in what they do, but in what they failed to do. Picture this. A young monk in Buddha's time stands before his peers and boldly declares, "I will reach enlightenment within 1 month." He speaks with passion, with eloquence. His determination seems unshakable. The other monks are impressed. Days pass, then weeks, and while this monk continues to talk endlessly about meditation, he spends less and less time actually meditating. When difficulties arise, he offers long explanations, why he needs to rest first, why he's still preparing. But results? None. The Buddha used this very situation to teach an important lesson. Empty words are like beautiful flowers without fragrance. They may catch your eye, but they lack essence. In ancient times, these types were common in royal courts. They promised military victories, bountiful harvests, diplomatic triumphs. Their words were like honey, but their hands remained idle. Fast forward to today, we see them everywhere. The coworker who pitches revolutionary ideas at every meeting, but never delivers. The friend who's always about to change their life, but somehow never quite gets there. And here's the deeper truth the Buddha pointed out. Often, these empty promisers believe their own words. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha explains that some people become addicted to the pleasure of talking about goals. For them, speaking about their grand plans feels like progress. It provides the satisfaction of imagined achievement without the actual effort. Here's a story from the Buddha's time that drives this home. There was a terrible drought in the kingdom of Kosala. Crops failed, people suffered. In the town square, a man stepped forward claiming he had special rituals that could summon rain. He drew large crowds with his eloquent speeches, Desperate, the townspeople gave him food, shelter, even offerings. But day after day, no rain fell. Whenever questioned, the man always had an explanation. There was more ceremony needed. The stars weren't aligned yet. New signs had appeared. With each failure came an even grander promise. The Buddha, observing this from a nearby monastery, taught the villagers an important truth. The harm of the empty promiser lies not only in broken promises, but in how they drain others' energy, distracting them from real solutions. Now think about today. How often do we get caught up in the words of those who promise but never act? The team leader who endlessly plans but never moves forward. The influencer selling the dream of overnight success. Even that well-meaning friend who talks about improving their life but stays stuck in old habits. The Buddha identified 4 key signs of an empty promiser. They focus on past accomplishments to avoid present action. They make big future promises to escape current responsibilities. They complicate simple tasks with unnecessary planning. And when confronted with failure, they respond with even bigger promises. But here's something worth remembering. The Buddha also taught that these empty promisers often suffer themselves. They live in a cycle of almost achievement, never tasting the fulfillment of real accomplishment. Now, let's move on to the third and perhaps most dangerous type. Papa Mita, the secret enemy. Unlike the first 2 types, this person hides behind what looks like genuine concern. The secret enemy is like a weapon wrapped in silk. Their danger lies not in what they show, but in what they hide. As the Buddha wisely put it, not all smiles hide teeth, but all teeth hide behind smiles. Let me tell you a chilling story from ancient times. There was a young merchant named Vedika. He had a lifelong friend, someone who had been by his side since childhood. They played together, studied together, shared everything. This friend attended every family celebration, knew every detail of Vedika's life, and was always there in times of need. But over the years, something shifted. As Vedika's business thrived, his friend's ventures failed. Quietly, jealousy began to grow, and rather than support his old friend, this man began to subtly undermine him. A whispered word here, a false suggestion there. He used his deep knowledge of Vedika's life, his trade routes, his partners, even family secrets, not to help, but to harm. The Buddha explained that this is what makes the secret enemy so dangerous. They weaponize trust itself. In Buddhist teachings, karma is not just about action, it's about intentional action. And the secret enemy creates powerful negative karma. They violate the principle of ahimsa, non-harming, by causing distrust, division, and suffering. How do we recognize them? In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha gave us 4 signs. They celebrate your failures privately while pretending to mourn them publicly. They downplay your successes, often through subtle criticism disguised as concern. They share your secrets with others while swearing everyone else to secrecy. They study your weaknesses, not to help you, but to exploit them. Back to our story, Vedika eventually saw the truth. His friend made a critical mistake during a negotiation, revealing knowledge he couldn't have known unless he had been sabotaging Vedika behind the scenes. The mask slipped. But what struck Vedika most wasn't anger, it was guilt. He said, "How could I have trusted him so much?" The Buddha taught Vedika this: the secret enemy succeeds not because they are strong, but because we are blind to their nature. They're like termites in a wooden beam. The damage is invisible until the structure is ready to collapse. And in our world today, these people still exist. They're the coworker who forwards your private email with a concerned note, the friend who shares your vulnerabilities behind your back, that family member who remembers your mistakes and brings them up at just the wrong moment. But here's the deeper wisdom. Most secret enemies are acting from a place of inner pain. Their resentment warps their perspective until betrayal feels justified. Their most dangerous weapon? The ability to make us doubt ourselves. And that brings us to the fourth and final type, the one that may be the most subtle of all, the enabler.
Now, we arrive at the fourth type, apayasahaya, the enabler. This person isn't malicious like the secret enemy. They aren't deceptive like the sweet talker. They aren't hollow like the empty promiser. In fact, on the surface, they seem the most kind and supportive of all. But as the Buddha taught, good intentions do not prevent real harm. The enabler causes damage in a softer, subtler way through the poison of comfortable decline. Remember this truth: comfort in decline is still decline. There's a powerful story from the Buddhist time that illustrates this. A young monk named Channa was known for being kind, generous, and well-liked. But Channa had a circle of friends who always encouraged his every weakness. When he skipped meditation to sleep late, they would say, "You needed the rest." When he broke a precept, they would say, "You're only human." When he neglected his duties, they would say, "You've been working too hard anyway." These friends weren't trying to harm him. They cared about Channa and wanted him to feel good, but slowly they were leading him away from his path. The Buddha compared such friends to someone who would hand you a cup of poison, not out of hatred, but because they didn't want to upset you by saying no. In the monastery, something began to change. The more Channa's friends excused his behavior, the more those behaviors grew. Minor lapses became habits. Occasional excuses became permanent justifications. Until one stormy night, when the winds howled and rain poured down, while other monks practiced diligently, Channa remained in comfort with his enabling friends. That night, the Buddha asked him a question that cut through all the excuses. Is the path to enlightenment meant to be comfortable or true? It was a wake-up call. And here's the insight the Buddha shared. Enablers harm us in 4 ways. They support us in neglecting our duties. They encourage us to justify our mistakes. They help us avoid necessary challenges. And they make decline feel like comfort. And the most striking part, these people often appear to be our most supportive friends. They're the ones who always agree with us, who never challenge us, who make us feel good about staying exactly where we are. In today's world, they are everywhere. They're the friend who encourages us to skip work when we're just being lazy, not sick. The family member who supports unhealthy habits because they don't want to see us struggle. The social media groups that validate our worst impulses because self-care sounds better than self-discipline. But the Buddha's wisdom reveals a deeper truth about human nature. It is easier to stay comfortable in decline than to embrace the discomfort of growth. And so we unconsciously seek out people who support our weaknesses, rather than challenge us to grow. This brings us full circle. These 4 types, the sweet talker, the empty promiser, the secret enemy, and the enabler, are not just ancient categories. They're patterns of human behavior that repeat again and again throughout history. But here's the key point. The Buddha didn't teach us this to make us fearful or paranoid. He taught it to help us cultivate wisdom and healthy relationships. He taught, true friends are like stars in the night sky. They don't just shine when we look at them. They guide us. They don't lead us astray. And most importantly, they help us find our true path. It's not a question of if we will encounter these 4 types, We will. The real question is, will we have the wisdom to recognize them, the courage to address them, the strength to choose better relationships? Because in the end, the company we keep shapes who we become. The Buddha reminded us in the Mangala Sutta, choosing our relationships wisely is one of the greatest blessings, not wealth, not fame, but surrounding ourselves with true friends. So today, take a moment to look around your life. Look at your workplace, your social circles, your closest relationships. Who are the sweet talkers who charm but never deliver? Who are the empty promisers who speak but never act? Who are the secret enemies who smile but hide darkness? Who are the enablers who comfort you into stagnation? The Buddha left us with 3 powerful steps to transform our relationships. First is to watch the patterns, not the promises. True friends reveal themselves through consistent actions, not occasional words. As the Buddha said, like gold tested in fire, the faithful reveal themselves in times of trouble. Second is to cultivate discernment, not suspicion. This isn't about becoming paranoid. It's about becoming wise. As the Buddha taught, wisdom arises from meditation. Without meditation, wisdom declines. Knowing this two-way path of gain and loss, conduct yourself to increase wisdom. And third is to choose growth over comfort. The path to any worthy goal, be it enlightenment, career, or a better life, runs through discomfort. True friends won't just support us, they will lovingly challenge us to grow. Before you go, I want to leave you with one powerful question. A question the Buddha often asked his disciples. If the company you keep does not lead you toward wisdom, compassion, and truth, where is it leading you? So take a moment right now. Think of one person in your life who lifts you higher, who challenges you to grow, who brings out your best self. Send them this video as a thank you for being a true friend. And if you'd like to dive deeper into the Buddha's wisdom on relationships, hit that subscribe button. Next week, we'll explore the 5 types of true friends the Buddha said everyone needs in their life. Until then, remember this: the wise grow in the company of the wise. Stay mindful, stay wise.